fascinating piece. First of all, the location and the landscape it was like a playground for the dancers. There was just so much space to use and work with, and I think that they did a great job of that. The camera work, just taking us through and around corners, was awesome. It felt like you were right there with them. The music was calming and tranquil and almost meditative. The dancers were so expressive and lovely to watch. This was just a work of art, and just beautiful from beginning to end in all aspects. I have no notes.
I loved the sensorial travel through nature. I could just feel that tree bark and smell the moss and the wet stone and hear the water trickling by my ear. And it really captured that feeling of going out into nature, and time just slows down because all of your senses are activated on almost overdrive to take in all of the senses and the beauty around you, the wildness around you. And I thought that was a meditative start for opening on the journeys of these individuals, and an empathetic start to get you activated and your empathy activated to take in their journeys, their struggles, these feelings of being abandoned, of sinking under the weight of obligations. But it had this lovely quality of interconnectedness with others witnessing those struggles and being there to, if not just take witness, but also to help them on their own journey. I thought there's something quite beautiful about that, and then that cathartic release at the end was absolutely lovely. I got a lot from this, and I keep on thinking back to it because new little metaphors or images will strike me. But I thought this was just really excellently done and quite evocative.
That was something. I really would have liked to see this one in a theater. Just the music, it was just so hypnotic, and there was something about it that was so rich and full, and the location and the gracefulness and the intensity of the performances. So many images just stay with me after that. The music box in these ruins, and the way that the camera is floating through. I thought throughout this whole thing, the camera work was just incredibly well timed to what it was interpreting. The use of fixed cameras and some drone shots and the steady cam work. I remember another image that stayed with me was the placing of the shoes and the dancer putting their foot in the shoes, and when it starts off, it's a handheld, so you get a bit of the shaky image with the hesitancy of the stepping into the shoes. It's just such a rich image also, and the way that it just goes through these corridors, and the text about the morning, the beautiful poetry, the interpretation of the text also. It's just everything just came together so powerfully with the music and with the location and the way it was shot and the choreographies and the just the beauty and the grace and the power of the performances. I just thought it just all came together in this hypnotic space that just made your heart ache. When the script came in and when we were talking about the morning, it just all made so much sense because we feel the loss throughout it just breathes it throughout the whole thing, which is why, like I said, I would have really liked to see it in a larger space where it all would have taken up so much more space, the screen and a good sound system, and it's that would have been quite the experience. It was just watching it on my computer was just I'm carried away.
This is one of those films where every single element played such an important part. From the music to the wardrobe, with the color contrasts, that these beautiful, bright, vibrant colors, to the set that they were on, where everything was more muted. It was more nature tones. And everything had an important part to play in this. I loved the story that it was telling and the stages of what we go through when we grieve. It was beautiful music to accompany it, and the choreography was just absolutely fantastic.
I love this music score. It is nostalgic and just showcases sadness somehow. They use this moldy abandoned ruins with a short but profound text about grieving and the mourning process. They use this colored clothing and they showcase different stages with the different characters. They behave differently, but they all commonly climb this type of pedestal at some point. They also move through the halls, and it's just poetic, very intense. It is truly tragic and nostalgic. I really enjoyed this one.
The subject matter is obviously very powerful, but the short does an excellent job of portraying it. Now, many people associate grief with the five stages and how once someone passes through them, then they've moved on. But in reality, and speaking from personal experience, it's a lot more complicated than that, and it can be very messy, as we saw during this short. There were a lot of different contrasts on display, like how it takes place in this luscious forest space, but the dancers are confined to this one small space, and that's very dull and very dusty. And while the setting that they're in is very, very dull, there were lots of objects that stood out in color, like the turquoise chair, the blue violin, or all the bright colored clothes. And this, we heard the same piano melody being played over the course of the 20-minute film, but the movements themselves by the dancers were very chaotic. And also, whenever one of the dancers spoke out, it was very disruptive. So yeah, while we can say that there was a quote-unquote way out for them, any of the performers could just walk right out into the forest, but there was this feeling that they had, and that we, the viewer, got as well, of just being trapped in this space. And that's punctuated by the way, by that sequence of those dancers trying to put on the shoes. One of them was crawling with shoes on her hands. The other put his feet on the shoes as someone else dragged them on the ground for him. And that's, I guess, supposed meant to illustrate how even a task as mundane as walking can suddenly feel very heavy and become very difficult. And the closing narration included some very powerful lines about grief, like, how long will this last, and at what age do I start to make an inventory of my life? So I really commend this dance piece for tackling such a heavy subject, and the dancers for confronting their grief head on while doing it with such grace.
It was a really, really great piece. It was really beautiful to witness visually. It was one of those pieces where I feel like so much thought was put into every single shot, and to make sure that everything was balanced and everything was there for a reason. Everything served a purpose. And yeah, I just loved seeing every single shot and how the detail, or the eye for detail, was kind of obvious in each one. The choice of environment itself was really cool to see. I loved the natural environment, the rockiness, and just that toned color of just grays and browns, but then having the choreographies and the dancers be so colorful and lively, and it really did bring such a muted space to life through that. Even the choice of fabrics and like the things that they wore, the hair color itself was all done in a way to really bring life to a scene or into an environment that probably hadn't seen much life of recent times, at least. So it was honestly really beautiful to kind of watch and to see how everything moved within the space. Something that else that helped was the camera movement and being able to really use the camera and to follow the choreography or to follow them in and out of a space. And so it was just really clever because I feel like it's so easy to just place the camera on a tripod and call it a day and be like, okay, choreography and dancers are going to kind of make it come alive. But to add that extra aspect of a circling camera or something like that really does the job in adding extra elevation to a scene. So overall, really great job.